This is the Tech Addicts Podcast.
This week, fingerprints on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. Nokia have a new tablet and a new type of laptop coming. Xiaomi show off a Pad Pro. Motorola's Edge and Razr are analysed by TED. And I get covered in battery acid. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I am Mr. Gareth Miles, your host for the next, I don't know how many hours, but I'm also joined by, as per usual, Mr. Ted Salmon, who's the other host for the
It's good of you to turn up. Did you fix your above ground cable that should have been underground?
Well, yes. Funny stories, dear listener. Sorry, listeners. There's more than one of you, I'm sure. I think so.
On a good week.
Yeah. Almost double digits these days. Yes, I had a little bit of a problem during the week. I decided to cut the hedges, which is never a good idea. And as I was doing the borders, which for those who don't have hedges, it's the bit at the very bottom of the hedge which collects roots and ivy and all kinds of nastiness. And I was cutting through all that kind of stuff and getting those cleared, and I severed the virgin cable that was supposed to be buried. There's the wee black plastic flap that I don't know if people have noticed, but Virgin install at a property that has Virgin so they can get access to the cable, and then it goes in under that, buried 2 inches under the ground. But in my case, it wasn't. It came out and went up and through the roots of the hedge, sitting about 4 inches above the ground, and then was buried on the other side of the hedge under my lawn, going across to the front of my house. So it took them 4.5 days to come out and repair that, which was a real pain in the derriere. But we're all back up and running. I had to spend a week, or most of the week, working. The days that I was working from home, I had to try and do it over 4G, and Vodafone kept cutting me off every 25 minutes.
Welcome to my world.
Well, I don't know how you managed to record a podcast with that, because it's a pain again in the derriere.
This is why I switched to EE, because Vodafone was just getting diabolical. So I don't know. Maybe it's a north-west of the UK thing with Vodafone, but EE is so much better, as I've said before. But yeah, it makes you realise when something like that happens, how dependent you are on. We used to be, say, like dependent on electricity and gas and water, but now you say, actually, it changes my life so radically when I can't get online.
Absolutely agree. And the amount of little things that we went to do, like check the weather. Oh, right, Google doesn't work anymore. That's apparent. And my son kept catching himself out, going, well, I've got nothing to do. I want to... Can I jump onto the PlayStation and play with my friend Aston? It's like, no, you need the internet for that. Oh. I'll get some new stuff and sync it to my tablet from Netflix, because I've watched everything that's on my tablet. It's like, no, you need the internet for that. Oh.
But you did have your Blu-rays and DVDs.
Well, thank goodness for that, yes. Keeping physical media, it's one of those big things. Once your internet's cut off, if you're streaming all your entertainment sources, as we do, I suppose I use BBC iPlayer and I pay my TV license for that, but I don't have an aerial. I don't have a coaxial cable coming down and an aerial connection or satellite or Sky or any of that sort of thing. I just rely entirely on the apps that are in Android TV, and whenever the internet was cut off, I had nothing, bar my 700 Blu-rays.
You ought to really have at least a terrestrial, TV aerial, so that there is kind of some fallback. I mean, the world might be going to pot, and you wouldn't be able to see the news even.
Well, we had 4G, so we were able to, I could tether my phone to my tablet or my Chromebook, which served as a good bedfellow or best friend throughout this entire thing. It worked.
Yeah. No
matter what. Although Vodafone didn't. And I'm a bit curious, because your Vodafone, you used to record this podcast when you were on your Vodafone, but it didn't cut you off every 25 minutes.
It depends on how it was feeling, because sometimes when I was recording a podcast, it did, and I had to be really careful about what time of day it was and what, how many people were in the region. So in the summer it was much worse because everyone was using Vodafone all the time. In the winter it was not so bad, but then you had climate conditions and blah blah blah. Yes, it was really unreliable. Whereas the EE one just seems to be completely solid, and whenever I do a speed test on it, it's just amazingly different. So they've just covered the area much better than Vodafone have.
Well, yeah. My work computer requires a secure login. Every time I got disconnected, I had to do that, and it would take between 3 and 8 minutes to do the login.
Wow.
So then whenever it cut me off after 25 minutes, I had to do the secure login again.
Oh,
and it was becoming a wee bit frustrating. There are words that I was using, expletives, that were being barreled out halfway through typing up an email or a Word document, and I got cut off. But whereas my wife she just had to turn off her Wi-Fi hotspot and back on again. And she was able to carry on working because she doesn't have secure stuff. But it was an experience that I don't wish to ever have. So I stood over the guys who came and did the fixing, and they put a big load of concrete down, and that's going to protect it from my hedge cutting next year.
Yeah. You'll be extra careful anyway, no doubt, in case you break through the concrete. Yes. Anyway, glad to have you back. Sorry, dear listeners, for our absence again.
Yes.
Actually, you could have gone on holiday. 4.5 days. Go on holiday somewhere to some place where there's spankingly fast Wi-Fi, and go and live in a hotel room somewhere.
Like Romania or Bulgaria, I hear they have the fastest internet in all of Europe.
Really?
Which you wouldn't expect.
Oh.
But that's not to discredit their countries in any way. But I think it's because the lack of people actually using them, perhaps. But they're attracting people to come and work remotely from those countries, and it's working quite well, because I know a couple of people, or YouTubers and things like that are taking advantage of that and moving to Romania and Bulgaria to get the faster speeds.
Right. Okay.
Are you thinking about that now, Ted?
Well, no, I'm all right now. I'm okay. I'm just running a speed test now, bearing in mind that I'm online with you and running a Skype call, and I've just done a speed test, and I've got 32 down and 41 up, and that's just amazing. I'm more than happy with that. I'm quite content. I don't need 250 and 300 like you and Steve do. I'm really okay with that level, because I've been so used to scrabbling about with like 5 and 2.
Yes. Well, I do get a bit annoyed when it drops down to 850. There's something wrong there. Someone's using too much broadband or too much bandwidth.
Anyway, we're back.
Yes, we are. Hurrah, hurrah! And the first 6 minutes of the podcast have just been good.
We haven't done the weather forecast yet. Or in the weather report. It's sunny here, 17 degrees, and kind of not too bakingly hot, but it's still quite warm. There?
Yeah. It's sunny here, 16 degrees, and much better than the horrible rainy day that we had yesterday. It was very blowy as well yesterday. Very blowy.
It was here too. Now, before we go on, I would just say that a lot of these notes that I made were preparing for last week's show. So if we stumble into one that's out of date, we'll have to just apologise.
No, that's fine. We owe the people. And they don't come here looking for bang up-to-date news, do they?
Probably not, no. Oh, well.
Yeah. So first up we have Ian Barton has chipped in with a couple of recommendations. The first one was comparing different AA batteries. Something that we do talk about quite frequently, especially in the bargain basement, are AA batteries. Because, well, Ted, you live on them, I believe. You don't have them for lunch, do you?
I really like having AAs. I love devices that run on AAs, because you can just get them anywhere. And I know they're inefficient in terms of compared with lithium-ion these days, but I do like them, yes.
Yeah, and I check into AA quite frequently as well. Is there anything better than Alkalines? Short answer is no. They compare loads of cheap brand Alkaline AAs against cheap Carbon Zinc ones, and the Alkalines win out every time, seemingly regardless of price, by 3 or 4 times. Yet main brands like Panasonic continue to make Carbon Zinc, claiming that they are good enough for low power units like remotes. That is quite interesting, and I'm wondering, just reaching around looking for an AA battery, because I have some here. Excuse me, sorry. There's quite a few in there, more than I expect. Oh, that one's leaked. Oh dear. That's a Duracell.
Oh dear. Oh, they were talking about leaking on the video too. They were saying that you, under certain conditions, batteries do leak. Whatever brands like Duracell claim is that they don't. They actually do. Under certain conditions. Yeah.
Well, this is another thing that I'm wondering if it's something to do with the intense heat that we experienced recently.
That was one of the conditions, I think. Yeah.
And that Duracell has leaked as well. That's a rechargeable one. Okay. Well, I was looking for this Panasonic one. I'm looking to see if it does. It says zinc chloride on the side. Zinc chloride, and then there's an alkaline one there as well, which I don't recognise. I don't remember getting that one. Yeah.
This was zinc, carbon zinc or zinc carbon, which I don't think I'd ever heard of. But
no.
they reckon that Panasonic reckon that they're good enough, you know. But then when they were comparing them with alkalines that were even cheaper than carbon zinc ones, they say, well, what's the point? You might as well just buy alkaline ones because they run 3 or 4 times longer. So what's the, buying carbon zinc ones for your remote, if they were cheap enough, fair enough, but they're not.
Yeah. There's a Panasonic Everyday Power. It's an alkaline one. So they must do both types. You have to inspect them before you take them. But thank you, Ian, for helping us identify slightly better batteries, just from, because it does say on the skin of the battery, like Amazon Basics are all alkaline.
Yeah.
Oop. Oh, blimey. Oh, I've got battery acid everywhere now. Don't
put it on your keyboard, whatever you do.
No, I'm not. That Duracell has leaked as well. It seems to be all the Duracells have leaked.
Oh, that's interesting, because they're the ones that claim that they don't.
Yeah, and the Alkaline Basic ones haven't, and the Panasonic ones haven't. I'll put that in that bag as well, so I can dispose of them responsibly.
Well done.
And I'll have to deal with that little pot as well that now has battery acid in it.
The other thing that Ian was talking about was Filebot, which you may have used. I haven't used. He says, fed up renaming the various files from your ripped DVDs manually? Get Filebot to do it for you. Filebot makes renaming and organising media files a breeze. Filebot will automatically match your files with information from your preferred online database and then rename and organise everything perfectly for you. You can customise your naming scheme to your specific needs and preferences, or keep things simple and stick to the plex naming standard. Before we recorded, I meant to actually run this and see what it did and how good it was. I bet you've used it, haven't you?
I haven't, no. I used a DOS one.
Oh,
I can't
right.
remember what it's called. I haven't done it in a while.
Okay.
But there was yeah. But maybe it's just the DOS renamer, because that's the one I'm familiar with, having used DOS. There's render for renaming directories, and then there's a multiple rename asterisk to something else, and then it'll automatically generate 01, 02, or 3. And then for doing TV shows, I use Sonar and Radar, which does it automatically.
That's right.
But Power Tools, I noticed, has a renaming feature as well in it.
It does, that's right. They're all out there, aren't they? You can get one. But this one particularly, Ian is recommending, because you've got the choices of sticking to the Plex thing or doing other schemes or whatever you want to plug into it. So, worth a look.
Might have to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so moving into the the hardware news. Yep, that's right. We're bang on the money here because we have brand new news that was released only a couple of hours ago. And we're going to start with that and not continue with that rationale because all the other news is quite old. The first one here is that the Galaxy S23 Ultra is going to have a couple of unique features to it that'll separate it from the rest of the Galaxy S23s. It's looking like it's going to have a 200 megapixel camera, but it's also going to have the Qualcomm 3D Sonic Max fingerprint sensor, which we've seen on the Vivo X80 Pro and the iQOO 9 Pro. Look at me. I've done my research because it says it in the article. This is a very special type of fingerprint reader that allows to do two-finger reading as opposed to just one. So you can use two fingers instead of one, which is always preferable. And I know Nixon liked to do that too. It also helps give you a greater level of security. And it includes anti-spoofing technology too. Ted, isn't that exciting?
Yeah, I think it is, because under-glass fingerprint scanners are so crap that anything that can be done to improve it, it's got to be an advantage. I still say that the ultrasonic fingerprint scanners that typically Samsung were using were much better than the optical ones. Faster, more efficient. But if there's something even better coming along, and a bigger target. Now, we've never seen a Vivo X80 Pro or an iQOO 9 Pro, I don't believe, in this country. So we've never kind of seen any of this stuff going on. But it sounds like it's great. And yeah, why not? Two fingers? Well, I suppose it'd be inconvenient if your phone is in one hand and you're picking it up and cradling it in your hand, where your thumb would come round to press the scanner. You've then got to do it two-handed, basically. If you need to use two fingers, you'd have to hold the phone in one hand and do it with the other, wouldn't you? But apart from that, a bigger target would be great.
I'm just thinking, picking up my phone, right, if I was to do that, what if they did, if it was two-finger scanning, you had your thumb on the front and then your forefinger on the back?
Ah, that'd be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would also catch people out for a good while as well, whenever they're trying to unlock your phone and not realising that there's another one around the back that they need to hit too.
Yes, good idea.
Or on both sides of the phone, and you could use the Google, what was it, the Pixel 5 had the squeezy technology built into the side of it, and you could use both fingers either side of the screen. Oh, wait,
Pixel 4 that was.
Patented. Right, good. You heard it here first, folks.
Well, before you leave that one, the other thing I've just thought of while you've been talking is to change the whole of the back of the phone into a fingerprint scanner. So when you pick up the phone, all your four fingers typically will be round the back there, and it can take its pick on which one it fancies scanning.
Oh, yes. And it could randomly choose one itself, and if you don't have that finger, then you're out of luck. You can't get access to the phone, which is unfortunate if you were to lose one of your fingers in an accident, need to phone an ambulance, and you only have three of the fingers, and it's going, hang on a second, where's your fourth finger? No, you mustn't be the person.
And also, it kind of relies on you not having a case around the back of the phone.
True, yes, yeah.
Anyway, bigger targets is a great idea.
But as with all American movies, nobody uses cases anyway. I keep noticing this. They never have a case on their phone in the movie. Yeah. Strange.
Perhaps it's a UK thing. No, the phone case market is huge. I mean, go to Amazon or even Amazon.com for America, and it's littered with phone cases. It must be just a movie thing, mustn't it?
Well, I think it's to get their brand in a movie and things like that. But don't put a phone case on it because then you can't see the brand. But it just encourages people not to use phone cases on their phones because they do look very nice and very cool. I was watching a film the other night, and it had both the Samsung Galaxy S10 or S10 Plus, I'm not sure which it was, and a large amount of Apple products as well, but you could tell them apart.
Yeah.
And the villain was using an Android phone, and the non-villain was... Wait, this is a different film. Hang on, they're two separate films. I watched two films at the weekend there, and yeah, one of them had a Galaxy, and the other one had an iPhone.
Oh, so right. The naughty person had the Android, and the good person had the Apple.
Well, no, the Apple was in a different film.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was using Android in the one with the naughty person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Your favourite company, Nokia,
Yay.
is doing the T10, and you have some specifications to unleash on people.
We spoke about this on the show before, but it was all leaks at the time, and now it's been released, and it was about to be released last week when I was going to report it, but it is now out there on the Nokia website. You can buy it. It's the T10, which is available in 32 gigabyte, 3 gigabyte version, but there's also a 64 gigabyte, 4 gigabyte version. Somewhere out there, I'm not sure. And on the Nokia website, you can only buy the 32.3, and it's for 129 quid if you want the Wi-Fi version. If you want the 4G one, then it will be 149 quid, and you can buy both of those. But you can't buy the 64.4, which is a real shame. Anyway, one of the features is that it's got this thing called Windows Computer Extended Screen. And I'm hoping that will be back ported to the T20, to be honest, because it looks like I don't quite understand, but I think probably what you do is you go to your Windows computer if you're on the same network, and you just use it as an extended screen. So it will pop up in Windows and say, "Yeah, that's your second screen," and you can.
Like Samsung do.
Yeah, like the tablets experience that you can get, as you say, with other ones. But who would have thought that Nokia would be into this one? Have you used a tablet in that kind of way?
I did when I had my S7 Plus, just purely to try and get it to work, and I think it worked 2 out of the 16 times that I did try to use it. When my wife took up this new job, she was complaining about how her 17-inch laptop screen isn't big enough and she needs more screen real estate. So I suggested she uses her S6 as an extra screen as well. And we had a go at that, and it didn't quite work, and it was a wee bit slow and sluggish whenever she was to sort of push things over onto it. But the more devices that use this, it's going to clean up the whole interface and clean up the whole coding behind it and turn it into a faster, more effective way of doing things. So yeah, go for it, Nokia. Roll it out, make it a more important feature that people look for in tablets.
Oh, I just wonder how many people are in reality going to use it. The T10 is aimed at people who want to sit on their sofa or in bed watching films and consuming media. It's like a child's thing or a granny thing or whatever. And yet that feature is something that is kind of aimed at productive business people almost. And I just wonder if it will be taken up and used. I'm not sure. Maybe they're just trying it out to see that they can keep up with others.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's possible. We'll watch this space, and whenever it arrives, I think you've got a T20, and my son has a T20. Yeah. I know he would be all over that.
I'm really tempted to buy a T10, but I just don't want to get the 32.3 one. I want the 64.4, and it's just annoying that in the UK at least we can't get that yet. I think I would regret buying a 32.
Especially since you've got the T20.
Yeah, but Mum, I think, you see, the aim would be to get this to my mum, because my mum really wants a smaller tablet, so we can get it in for me to test, but then hand it along. Anyway, there you go. Well done, Nokia.
Well, we'll look forward to your review whenever you buy one. Mm-hmm. Good. Excellent. You've committed to that. So, Nokia are also doing the PureBook Fold, which is a 14-inch laptop. That is going to be announced fairly soon. They haven't announced it yet, so this is still rumour, speculation type thing. So it's going to have, there's going to be 2 options. There's going to be a 15.6-inch screen and a 17.3-inch screen. Ted, what else can you tell us about it?
This is going to be announced apparently at IFA in Berlin, which is happening between the 2nd and the 6th of September. So there's loads of stuff there. I don't know if you want to just have a quick look through that and see what interesting stuff is going on. There's Bang & Olufsen speaker stuff going on. Honor apparently are rolling out some new stuff. Huawei are there, which is quite surprising, I suppose, but they're probably focusing on non-Android devices, I would imagine. LG, although they're not doing phones, I mean, they're certainly doing TV screens and stuff, and it looks like they're going to be rolling out a huge screen for people's lounges, hopefully at a good price. As we say, there's the Nokia thing. Nokia have got 2 or 3 or 4 phones lined up, which no one seems to know very much about. So that's coming along. And also, as you say, that 14-inch laptop and the 17-inch laptop. Panasonic are in there, and Samsung, although of course they've got their own Unpacked event at Samsung, but they're certainly going to have a presence there. It'll be very interesting to see what goes on at the event. I think we should commission Frank Neidhart to go along for us. He lives in Germany. Now, go on, Frank, go along and report back for us.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to get into. I went to it twice, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. But I was there for a limited amount of time each time, and I couldn't make it round the whole show.
Right.
But Nokia are going to be doing the PureBook Lite 15, the PureBook Lite 14, the PureBook Fold 14, and the PureBook Pro 17. Oh, and another one, the PureBook Pro 15. Wow, that's quite a range. That's quite a commitment to laptops then from Nokia there.
And presumably they're going to be Windows, although no one's actually saying that, are they?
True, yeah. Well, they're built off of Intel, so you'd like to think that. There's not really anything else they can put on there that's going to sell in volume.
Last time Nokia tried a Windows laptop, it didn't do very well at all, and has become a bit of a collector's item. I can't remember what it was called now, but it was
that's right.
About 10
was it
years
the Folio
ago.
Or something like that? Or
Doesn't
was
ring
that
a bell.
Palm?
Doesn't ring a bell, but yeah. Go Nokia, go.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens and if they become a proper name to trust in the world of portable computing. That'd be cool. A name to trust in the portable world of computing is Xiaomi as well, because they've got the Pad 5 Pro that's coming. Not the 6, the Pad 5 Pro. We've talked about the Pad 5 numerous times over the last number of months, but the Pro has been announced, which has the larger 12.4-inch screen on it. Ted, I'm taking you're going to buy one of these. Yeah.
It depends how much it is, as always with these things. But Xiaomi usually knock stuff out pretty well priced, don't they? The 12.4-inch screen is obviously competition for Samsung, isn't it? That's exactly where they've pitched this, to try and get that crowd in. It looks lovely. We don't really know very much about it, do we? It's got a 50 megapixel camera on the back. It's a 12.4-inch screen, and that's about it. Oh no, there's a Snapdragon 870 on board, and yeah, they're obviously leaking this out and not saying very much about it. Save me here.
Well, the one thing that's crucially missing from that, and I found the GSM Arena link that I'll pop into the show notes as well for the specs, which I'm currently doing rather than reading out the specs. Okay. It's got an IPS LCD 120 hertz screen, much like the Pad 5, and it runs Android 11 out of the box, but obviously there'll be a 12 upgrade, hopefully, you'd like to think. That Snapdragon, there's a 128 gigabyte version with 6 gigabytes of RAM, or 256 with 6 gigabytes of RAM, and 256 with 8 gigabytes of RAM. The one thing that put me off buying this whenever I was looking for an alternative tablet to my Samsung that I have now gotten rid of, is the micro SD card. It didn't have one. You could not expand your storage, so you were limited to what you had. And it was getting harder and harder to find that 256 gigabyte version, especially with the 8 gigabytes of RAM.
Right. There's a price there, look. €330.
Yes,
so
and we will be
priced.
coming back to the low prices of the Pad 5 in a section later in the show known as Bargain Basement.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. It's got the 8 speakers, hasn't it? That's what I was worrying about before. Yeah. 8 speakers for amazing sound, so they say.
Yeah, it looks like a really good all-rounder, but it is missing that SD card slot, and I just don't understand why they've left it out. It's the one thing that pulls it down. And I know it's not going to matter to some people, but,
Hang on a minute. This says it's 11-inch. This isn't the same one, is it? That says it's 11-inch screen, and we were looking at a 12.4-inch screen, weren't we?
They must have made a mistake there. If you look at the
confusing.
top. Oh, it says it's running MUI 12.5. I just saw that and just saw there's 12.5. That'll be the one. Unless maybe they're making two different sizes of it.
Yeah.
In the way
maybe.
Samsung does. There's a big one and a small one.
The 5G one.
Smaller.
There's a 5G one and a 4G one. Very, very confusing. As always, our homework... Oh, hang on, what have you found?
I've found it. I've got a better link. There must be doing two. There's an 11-inch and a 12-inch. If I put that in there and then link that with this. This is thrilling stuff, isn't it, audience? Developing as you're listening. Wow, we are developing.
There we go. That's better.
One day we'll do a good podcast.
Oh, no, there's only 4 speakers.
Oh, the rascals. Wow.
Yeah. And actually, there's the same thing applies there. There's no SD card. So you're still going to have a problem with that.
No. I'm marking it down for that. I'm walking away from it over that because I don't want to see that going. Is there a headphone jack? No, there's not actually either.
No.
So it's
got 67 watt charging though, which is pretty nifty.
It is. But they cut a couple of things out that would keep that. This would be the king of the world had it have those two things.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. The 3.5. Yes, I can tolerate that. I would prefer one, but no, losing the memory card slot is not a no-go for me.
I bet the Nokia will have a 3.5 and a card slot.
It will, and then but it's still only 3 gigabytes of RAM with 32 gigabytes of storage, so it needs that micro SD.
I'm going to try and find the 4 gigabytes of RAM version. It's not here on my links. Let me have a look at I'll quickly have a look at the Nokia website that I've linked to and see if there's. No, it's still not there. I think that'll pop up eventually and roll out like it did with the T20. Because first of all, you could only get the crappy one, and then eventually they brought the other one. Anyway,
I remember you had to jump through a hoop to get the slightly better one. Whenever I was buying it, I think you were talking me through where to go to get it.
Yeah. You're right. I did.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving swiftly along. Google TV is going to get an interesting collection of powerful features, they say. Google TV, the underdeveloped operating system that Google like to put onto streaming sticks and then somewhat abandon them, is going to be working with, say, for example, Android Wear OS to allow you to be able to control your TV from your smartwatch, which should have already been in there. That would be great, but they're going to be putting that in, which is welcome, I suppose. And they're looking to marry Android TV platform to other smart home products, so you should be able to control your TV. I think at the moment you can do power functions where you can ask the TV to turn off and on, but you can't get it to switch to something else, like if you're watching Netflix and you want it to do something on Prime or YouTube. I can't remember. I think I did have a play with that a while ago. But yes, it'll function with other things. Nest speakers is another example. Now, it's saying Nest speakers as opposed to home smart speakers, because I think it's got to be the newer generation of Nest speakers, but they're looking to turn those into wireless speakers for your device, which could make things incredibly interesting if you could achieve a 5.1 surround sound on your TV by going out and buying a bunch of little Nest speakers at 20 quid a pop. That would be kind of fun. But a word of warning to anyone who's looking to do that. I've set up Google Smart Speakers as stereo speakers in the bedroom, and my son loves using broadcast. So he'll broadcast down to say is lunch ready, and whenever it comes through on those speakers, it's not synchronized, and it sounds. And if it's too loud, it's just this noise that pours through of your son's voice. It sounds like some sort of weird ghost that's exploding into the house. It's terrifying, especially first thing in the morning.
And can you shout back to him, make your own blasted lunch, you lazy tyke?
Yeah, I can do that. My wife doesn't like to do that. She just jumps up and runs down and makes him lunch whenever he demands it.
Yes.
Which probably isn't the best way to raise a child. But,
So the Wear OS hookup means that you can eventually you'll be able to enable interactive video workouts on your TV, complete with the ability to see one's own heart rate and other real-time fitness stats on the TV screen. Is that something that people are going to want to do? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Well, it absolutely sickened me that Wear OS cannot control YouTube or YouTube Music.
Right.
You can't select the next track by hitting your watch. That I didn't understand. Why? Every other smartphone setup with a watch has it, but you can't do it through Google's own stuff using Google's own operating systems. I couldn't believe it. You can if you subscribe to Spotify, you can use their watch app to skip tracks, but not Google. Why? I don't understand that.
This is also going to outdate old stuff, isn't it? So that they're talking about having to run Android 13 to make some of this work in the future, which means that anyone that doesn't get Android 13 is out of luck with any of this stuff. I suppose it's inevitable, really, that things can't be back-ported and supported forever, but yeah, bit of a shame.
Yeah, it's going to be Android 13, unlucky for some.
Yeah.
Anchor. Let's talk about Anchor.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have the Power Core 24K. I can't see this because of ads. I noticed this popping up, and I'm glad that you included it in the show notes. This is a power bank that supports 140 watts USB Type-C PD output for MacBook charging. I'm guessing that it works with other forms of computer too. This looked really, really cool until I saw the size of it sitting on someone's desk. But yeah, Ted, tell us all about
it's probably quite simple, really. It's got a 24,000 milliamp hour battery inside it, which is where the name of it comes from. It's the Power Core 24K. And it works both ways on 140 watts, so you can charge it really quickly from the mains, and you can also push out 140 watt charging to your devices, anything that's plugged into it. This happens to have come from a Mac website, Mac orientated website, so they've quoted Mac and Apple stuff, but it'll work with anything. It's got 2 USB-Cs and 1 USB-A, and on the front it's got a LCD. No, actually it might be an OLED. I think it might be. It looks like an OLED, doesn't it? A readout of exactly which of the ports are being used and how the wattage is being shared between the 3 ports. I love that. And there's a little graphic to show you what the battery state is like. I really like this. It's $139.99 at Amazon UK now, which is, on the face of it, for a 24,000 milliamp hour battery thingy, is expensive. But I suppose what you're paying for is 140 watts both ways. And being able to kind of put it in your briefcase or whatever and take it with you and have really fast charging. Yes. It
is really big, so I think you're going to need a pretty big briefcase.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I think you can hit people over the head with it.
Have a look at the Amazon listing.
They won't be living tomorrow.
I've got the Amazon listing here, $139.99. Is there a scale on the size here? Oh, yeah, there is. There's a picture of someone with it next to their laptop. And I don't think it's that big. It would go in a briefcase, just about.
Yeah, a big briefcase.
Yeah.
No, it does look pretty fantastic, and I look forward to them maybe putting out a smaller one if they did a 10K version of it that consumers could buy and just enjoy for that quick blast of electricity.
Yeah, just something a bit cheaper, because even though it's very, very good, blah, 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 140 quid is a lot of money, I think.
Yeah.
Which, if that had been under 100 quid, you'd say, yeah, that's been pitched really well for price. Anyway.
Has indeed. Grand. So next up is I suppose we're going to go into Motorola zone now.
Yay!
Because we kind of missed it due to Virgin last week. Yeah. The Motorola Razr 2022. There's been a teardown video showing how the hinge has been improved over the old one. Ted, should anyone get excited about this?
It's in Chinese. The link in the show notes to that video, just be warned that all the audio is in Chinese. And if you go to the 9-minute mark, you'll see how the screen is different. So they've got an old version next to a new version. And you can see that the screen, when it folds open, it pulls up from the bottom. So the screen is not static in place. It sits under the chin and then kind of moves forward. Whereas with the new one, the movement has been contained within the hinge itself, and the hinge has been made smaller. That's just showing one part of it, really. I looked on the YouTube last night, and there was an English spoken Chinese-based review of it now, which went on for about 6 or 7 minutes, and it does look really nice. They've done a bigger screen, a bigger out-facing screen than the Flip 4, which is clearly what it's up against. And I'll put a comparison link in the show notes between the two devices, and there are differences. One of them also is the fact that the Flip 4 has got wireless charging and the Razr hasn't, which is rubbish. Rubbish, Moto. You should have got wireless charging in there. But then they would say, well, actually, we've taken up all of that space with the screen on the front, which is bigger than the Samsung's. Anyway, I think they both look really, really nice, and I'd love to have either one of them, particularly the Moto, though, because as you know, I just generate towards Moto stuff over others. But yeah, you fancy one?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not sold on foldable phones just yet, and whilst this is a wee bit more in line with what I'm hoping we start to see from these, I don't like the idea that things like new hinge improvements are put into the news articles. The hinge isn't going to break as easily as the previous ones did.
Yes.
Okay, I'll just continue buying one without a hinge, thanks.
Yeah, which is where the Microsoft come in with the let's not bother about a stupid hinge, let's just make 2 screens.
Yeah, I think they have a better idea there. It's a lovely novelty, and it's wonderful to play with. My daughter's boyfriend has one, and it's quite an interesting phone to flip open, and he does have a sort of a cool move now whenever he whacks it open and answers the phone. But I don't think I'm going to pay thousands of pounds being old and uncool to try and coolify myself. This is a game for the young. I prefer a responsible device that's going to last me the 2 years that I have it.
Yeah, there is that to it, and it's an evolving technology, of course, and they will just make it eventually perfect and really, really well done. So yeah, we know that, but it's good fun to be a part of the evolution, I think, and how they make it better going forward.
Yes, quite right. Speaking of evolution, Motorola have looked at the market and, in their infinite wisdom, have decided that there's not enough tablets out there that run a Snapdragon 680 chipset, have 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of internal storage. So they've decided to fill that hole with their new tablet that's a 10.6-inch LCD panel that looks very much like every other Lenovo tablet that is out right now. Ted, can you tell us anything about this that is good?
I think that this is a clone of the Lenovo... I can't remember the name. Is it? Sorry?
P11?
P11, is it? Yeah. Even the styling and everything is exactly the same. It's a rebadged version of that. They called it the Tab G62. And it's supposed to be very well priced at under 200 quid. So, hitting that Nokia T20 territory again. And as you say, reasonably spec'd, looks all right. In actual fact, the two-tone look on the back is very much like what the Pixels were doing a couple of years back. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just that, as usual with Android tablets and Motorola and Lenovo, you got no confidence at all in them keeping it up to date. And I would much rather buy a Nokia knowing that they're going to do that. What they do have on this one for you is a micro SD card slot, so that and a 3.5mm audio out. Oh, it's got Dolby Atmos audio as well. So it's well priced for what it is, but I just don't trust them. I did notice that the newest Motorola phone, which is the Edge 2022, I think, which is only going to get released in North America, I think. In fact, we might be coming to that later in the show. I'd forgot. Oh, right, sorry. I'll shut up, shall I?
Oh, no, I'll move it. You can talk about it now, because we've got something else unrelated in between. So
okay.
Let's carry on with your Motorola motorbike.
What I was going to say, was that they've actually committed to, on this new phone, 3 years of OS updates, which I assume by saying inverted commas 3 years, it means 3 OSs. So released on 12, you'll get 13, 14 and 15, and 4 years of security. So for the first time, Motorola are actually releasing something and saying, right, we're going to try and catch up with Samsung here, catch up with Google, catch up with Apple, catch up with everyone else that are doing the decent thing. And our new Edge device will be the thing to go for. Now, this new Edge device almost has everything. It's even got a slightly smaller screen than the usual 6.7-inch panel. It's an OLED. It's got 144 Hz refresh rate, which is something they're focusing on, but frankly, I still use 60 Hz and it's perfectly all right. Anyway, but I'm sure people will be wowed by that. It's got some fancy stuff going on in the camera department, which is about 960 frame per second slow motion stuff, which we've kind of seen before in other ones. Sony did that as well, didn't they? It's got wireless charging, hurrah! And it's got this. It's the first phone that's going to roll out with this Dimensity 1050 chipset.
Nice.
So interesting, all the usual other stuff, I think, and pitching it at about $500 or $600. The worrying thing is that they're doing a deal like they did with the Motorola Play Z4. They're doing a deal with T-Mobile, AT&T and Verizon, and it just smells like this is never going to be, even though they're saying that there will be a universally unlocked device, it smells like it's going to be hard to get for us in the UK, which is a real shame. And they're clearly focusing on America with this. But yeah, I fancy this, and it's also supporting all the Ready 4 stuff, which is great. It works really well. And if you get 4 years worth of that, instead of the 0 years I've got with my Edge Plus 2020, very annoying. I had that out last night again, and I thought, I can't use this. It's gone, end of line. They're not going to support it. I'm so naffed off with that. I'm not going to use it. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, they're following suit in doing that, but whether or not they actually adhere to it is a completely other. It's a completely different ballgame altogether. I have the Lenovo P11 Pro, and I will continue to... No, not the Pro, the Plus. I will continue to point out, until they do it, that they had promised that Android 12 would be on that device by the end of May.
Right.
It's now August.
Yeah.
And there's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Typical
So,
Lenovo.
Yeah. If it's outside of the 3 years, then they'll just go, oh, well, we did try. It's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
You did 12, and that was... No, you did 11, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't know what you can do about that. Nokia did that with the PureView 9, I remember. And they promised everyone that it would get an OS update, and then just basically apologised and said, no, we're not doing that now. We're really sorry. And here's a 50% off voucher if you want to buy our XR20. And, oh, right, okay then. So it's okay to renege on promises. So, yeah, I'm with you on that.
50% off is still a saving of a decent amount. I can't imagine Lenovo doing that.
No.
Although they haven't even announced that there's going to be like a P12, or I think they're doing a P11 Pro 2022, which is the bigger one. But for those that bought the kind of cheap but modestly spec'd P11 Plus, they're left. And I know full well I bought that with all these issues in mind. But I just wanted a cheap Netflix tablet, really, and because that's all I was using my S7 for, so I would be able to sell my Tab S7 Plus and have a little bit of money left over and still be able to watch Netflix on the go.
Yeah. You should have got a Nokia.
No, I have the Nokia upstairs. Austin uses it, and it's grand and all, but I wanted something different. I didn't want to have the same one.
Fair enough.
So there you go. All right, moving on to the aforementioned other product that was dividing up the Motorola nonsense, is the Adidas RPT02 SOL self-charging headphones. These are headphones that charge themselves, or they... Is it solar that they work off? I read this earlier.
Solar powered.
Yeah, it is.
The back of the band has got a solar panel in it.
So it's not self-charging. They're solar charging headphones.
Yes.
But they've got an IPX rating, IPX4 rating to them, so you can wear them in a little bit of drizzle, I suppose. They're sweat-proof and splash-proof, which is kind of nice. They are good-looking headphones. And they do feature a fairly large band that goes across the top of your head to have that solar panel charging facility built into them as well. Ted, you like your headphones? Are you excited about
200 quid these are. You see the picture there that they've got on this website on Geeky Gadgets. It looks like it's also got a cover.
It broke.
Eh? Yeah, it's broke. It looks like it's got a cover. So those pads presumably are just been taken off from the ear pads. But that other thing looks like it's a cover. So if you're not wanting to charge it, you don't have to have the solar panel up there and out there. You put that thing over the top. That's how it looks to me. Does it to you?
Well, yeah, I'm looking at other images as well over on Adidas's website, and I can't see the solar panel. So yeah, there must be something to hide it. But would you not want to sort of show it off, just to point out why you have it?
Maybe that's a spacer for small heads or big heads. It goes inside because it's got that yellow thingy. You see inside the actual band, there's a yellow thingy, and then on the outside of that, there's another yellow thingy. So perhaps it's not a cover at all. Perhaps it's a spacer. Anyway, great idea, isn't it?
It is.
How efficient it is, and whether you need to live in the middle of Zambia for it to actually be efficient and keep you powered up with sun is another matter. I don't see any evidence of any testing been done here and how long it's supposed to last or whatever, but yeah.
Well, we'll be coming back to this in a later section called the Bargain Basement, where I'm doing a bit of testing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on swiftly, we have the Nokia issue.
It's a Nokia week.
That's right, but this is more business based because a couple of weeks ago we noted that Oppo were being done in court by Nokia for infringement of patents and things like that, and the judge had said there'd be possibly a cease of sales of devices that have the offending matters in them. But Nokia have said that they could avoid the sales ban by renewing the license for the patents and paying a certain amount, which could amount to, I think I saw it in here, was it €2.50, based on the 2 million units that are estimated to ship in Germany. And I didn't quite see if that meant they could kind of step back over the years and claw back money, or if it's just this year alone. But that's Germany. This is also going to apply to France, the UK, Sweden, Finland, Netherlands, Spain, and India. So if they were to have to pay that in Germany, then it could, by common sense, apply to all those other nations or countries, and they would have to pay the same roughly there as well. And if you were to then extrapolate that out internationally, they sell 200 million smartphones annually, which means they would have to be handing over €2.50 on every single one of those phones to Nokia, which going forward isn't a big thing. But if they were to retrospectively apply this over the last number of years since they noted that the copyright infringement or the patent infringement occurred, they could end up having to shell out more money than you would care to imagine. Wow. What do you think,
The
Ted?
story here, I think, is about the fact that Nokia are saying to Oppo, look, do the decent thing. And it's not just Oppo, it's also the whole of the BKK group, BBK group. So it involves OnePlus and all the rest of it. And they're saying, look, it's our patent. The court has confirmed it's our patent. You are breaking it and behaving badly. All you've got to do is relicense with us, and we'll lift the ban, we'll sort it all out, and move forward with you. But Oppo are saying no. The counter to this is that this also applies, as you said earlier, to India, and Oppo and other BBK brands in India are huge, and that might be the bit that makes them do it. As you say, there's no information here about backporting any of this. These charges, we don't know about that. But moving forward, it would seem like it's reasonable. If you've got a patent on something, then you can't just illegally produce things, can you? That's not the way that the world works. You cough up and pay up, and that's it. I'm with Nokia here.
No, I believe I am as well. I do feel for Oppo and obviously their related companies, which include Realme and OnePlus and various other players in this as well. But the whole patent thing is, whilst it's good in protecting intellectual properties of big companies, it also can really cripple other companies as well, where they do have to pay out in other cases larger sums of money. And I think is it Microsoft actually makes more from its patents than it does from everything else that it does.
Yeah, but when you go into business and you start to make something, you take all that into account. You have your lawyers who say to you, don't forget, if you're going to make this with this in it, then you've got to pay these things to these people because it's not yours. And it's all about good business planning, isn't it? And
so Oppo should be walking into their lawyer's office saying, why didn't you tell us this? I'm going to sue you now.
Exactly.
And you're going to have to pay all of this. And then they'll say, oh, we can't afford that.
Our insurance company will pay it.
Yeah. So we'll keep a close eye on this story and attempt to translate it to you over the course of the next couple of months to see what Oppo do and if they continue to sell. Or do Oppo just go, screw it, we made enough money, let's close up shop?
They can't, because what Nokia are saying is that they want to apply the new license with the BBK group worldwide, and that's their stipulation. We're not just going to do this for Germany. Our proposal is a worldwide thing. You're breaking these rules everywhere, and Oppo are so frightened of not having the Indian market particularly that they won't probably back down. Sorry, they will probably back down so they can continue with that.
Yeah. Well, there is good news from things being stopped, and that is that Snap are going to stop the development of their Snapchat Pixie selfie drone, which I don't think I ever saw in the flesh.
Oh, that looked like great fun, didn't it?
No, it didn't. This was a little drone that you could use that could fly away from you and take pictures of you and post them directly to Snapchat through your phone. And yes, the drone technology is wonderful. The idea that it's Snapchat based is not wonderful.
Oh, okay.
So it's going away. I don't think, maybe they just didn't sell them. Maybe the pictures were a bit crap and people went, nah. I never even saw a review of this device, but I do remember it coming out. We covered it on here.
Yeah.
But I take it you didn't obviously pick one up then.
No, and I didn't see them for sale anywhere either. But apparently they are for sale because they're talking about not replacing stock that is while supplies last, they'll keep selling them. Particularly they say in the United States and France for some reason, and they just look like a lot of fun. You remember that video we watched? Of those three girls that were running around the top of a cliff top somewhere, and they were, it worked really well. I know it was a promo video, but even so, and they've just announced their. I don't know if this is related or not to the stopping of the development of the Pixie, but they just announced their $3.99 a month premium tier, which on closer inspection doesn't seem to do anything much. I'm not quite sure why anyone would buy into that. But anyway, I'm not a Snapchat user, so perhaps I don't understand. But and I don't know if that's related or not to this. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a shame. It's a nice little bit of kit, that.
Well, I don't agree. It's $250 to buy one of these. I think that from the pictures that I saw, if you do a quick check online, you can see some of the pictures that people have on Google Images. Has a couple that were taken on it, and they're suppose they are pictures. I'll give you that. It didn't sort of sell out particularly quickly. Thankfully, we don't see very many of them about. And also, in certain countries, there are a large amount of laws preventing people from using them, and rightfully so.
Not just 3 feet above your head, there isn't, is there?
I think there can be, yeah. If you go to a football game or a concert or something like that,
okay.
and were to throw this up in the air, right. There's legalities. If you were to be standing in Italy outside the Colosseum and use it, you could be remanded in custody and sent down to the big house.
Okay.
Not with your pixie drone. But they also did the Snapchat glasses as well that failed.
Oh yeah.
Quite quickly. So I think Snapchat's attempts to take on the hardware side of things are just the drone is good. The camera and all the stuff that goes along with it is off-putting.
Okay.
I think that'll be the general crux of it here.
You rest your case.
Yes. Yeah. And I've never been a fan of Snapchat anyway.
Yeah.
So Google Cloud has blocked its largest ever DDoS, which stands for, I'd written it down here, Distributed Denial of Service Attack. And that was just at the start of June there. To put it into context, as this article from Geeky Gadgets did, essentially they had a scaled attack that was like receiving all the daily requests to Wikipedia in just 10 seconds. So that's a lot of hits to the site. It doesn't go into where they believe it came from or any of that sort of thing. Perhaps they don't want to do that because they're hot in the heels of the tearaways that decided to do this. But it just goes to show that hack attempts are not going away and they're getting even bigger than before. Considerably
46
bigger.
million requests per second.
Wow.
You know, we're used to Google and other online services working really, really quickly, instantly, but that is a huge number, isn't it?
Yeah, imagine the processing power to have to deal with those. And I think the whole idea is to take down the hardware that's there, and security doesn't work as well.
Exactly, and what they're saying is that, you know, while this is all going on, is it surprising that you might get a bit of an outage because Google can't cope with the the normal demands of everyone using their services while all this is happening? It's all a bit kind of scary, but encouraging, I guess, that these big organisations know that this is coming and they've blocked it, they've dealt with it and done it, even if it's been resource intensive to do so. But I suppose, yeah, scary, but reassuring that your data is, well, I was going to say safe, but kind of safe.
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be any particular way around it. We heard the other day, at least I heard it on the radio, that Apple iPads and iPhones are all required to run a new update as well as quickly as possible for a new exploit that's been discovered there. We're going to be talking about Twitter as well, having a data breach too. I think maybe the whole idea they should really... the aspect they should take is to tear up everything that they have going on at the moment and try a radically new way of doing things, and that will fend off the attacks for a little while until they start working out what to do with it. You know, say for example, put it in old terms, as opposed to having an Amstrad CPC running things, get a BBC to run things because the code isn't going to be compatible with the BBC. Maybe.
You should be in charge, obviously.
Absolutely not. It's probably the stupidest idea that anyone's ever heard. But that's what people come here for: stupid ideas from me and the clever ideas from you.
Right. Let's look at the latest handheld console, shall we?
Yes, moving swiftly on. Yeah.
There seems to be so many of these coming out, and this is just yet another one. I'm not sure if we spoke about this one before, the Retroid Pocket 3, and maybe this is just about the fact that it's now formally announced or not. But what's to know about this one?
Well, this is a groovy little a Nintendo Switch influenced retro games console that runs Android 11 with a sort of heavy overlay that has a bunch of emulators built into it, and you can load up an SD card full of colourful little ROMs that of the games that you legally own, and you can put it on there and play it on the 4.7-inch touchscreen display, which is rated at 1334 by 750.
That's really small, isn't it? I happen to have just here a 4.7-inch phone, the Marshall London, and it just happens to be in my. Yeah, that's really dinky, isn't it? That would actually be quite a nice little gaming size, I think, as long as you've got quite good eyes.
Very true, yes. Eyes do help.
Yes.
It's got a 60 hertz refresh rate on that screen as well. Not 120 hertz, but 60 hertz is still pretty darn good for these old games. And it supports up to 450 nits of brightness. There's either 2 or 3 gigabytes of RAM, which is more than enough for this kind of things. And then 32 gigabytes of internal storage, which is quite nice because, well, you'll be keeping all your ROMs on an SD card that you can quite quickly hot swap or take out to load more on if you feel the need. It charges by USB Type-C,
Whoa.
which is really welcome to see in these types of things. And it's got a 3.5mm headphone jack. There's also Bluetooth and Wi-Fi compatibility as well. It's great. It just doesn't say the price. Oh no, $120. That's not bad. Yeah,
I really like the size of it. Is this a Is this a Kickstarter campaign?
No, I think you can buy
really?
it straight away. Pre-order from $120 and up. It's over on Retroid or GoRetroid.com.
Oh, right. I really fancy that, you know. I think it's a really nice size. Having got my little 4.7-inch screen out, I thought, yeah, I could. In actual fact, that would be so much nicer than my Nintendo Lite size, my Switch Lite. It would be just right, and yeah, I quite fancy that. And it's not very expensive, is it?
Yeah, you can run Android games on there and then use it with the controller. It also has an HDMI out that does 720 out, which is fine for the likes of the Super Nintendo and things that you might be running on here.
So you can put it onto the telly as well.
You can indeed, a bit like the Evercade and things like that, which is kind of nice. I think it looks like it might have a mini HDMI on it, micro HDMI.
Right.
To full-size HDMI, which I don't know if that comes with it. It says it supports it, so probably not.
Right.
But yeah, it's a nice little device.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these about, but I would go onto YouTube and see if you can find some of the retro nuts that you have on there who test these sorts of things. There's a good amount of them, and they'll tell you whether or not it's good enough for you to go out and purchase, because there's so many of these. And they frequently have videos like my favourite Retroid device now.
Very good. Right,
Yeah,
can you put a pause in? No, don't pause it. I'll carry on recording, but I'm getting hotter and hotter here. I need to go and open the door. So I'll carry on recording, okay? But do you want to take a note of the time?
1:01.
Okay, hold on.
Should I be cheeky, listeners, and not pause it? And then you can hear Ted walking around, making flatulent noises in his caravan. If you're listening to this, then I felt like being cheeky.
Bloody weather.
This is the kind of language that I have to tolerate whenever you're not listening.
Whoever thought it would be a good idea to live in a bloody caravan? Bastard stupid idea.
Shh, I think he's coming back now.
Right, okay, back with you. That's a bit better now, actually. I feel a bit of the breeze coming from the door.
Oh, good. Have you got the fan set beside the door?
Can you hear it?
Yes, I can, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure the listeners would tolerate listening to that as opposed to you suffering.
So the forecast said today it was going to be cloudy and not bloody sun all day, and the sodding sun's just stayed out and is beating down. Very, very annoying. Get rid of this sodding summer once and for all. Right, okay. Back in the room.
Yes, grumble over. And nicely left off at the end of the last topic. So we'll move into Flap Your Trap about an app. Next up we have the Google Home, which is getting a redesign. This is a little piece of software that you can run on your Android device and interact with your Google Home devices. It's confusing, and there's far too many menus in it to be able to achieve what you want to do, and it's somewhat off-putting, and I don't even bother with it anymore. A redesign is more than necessary to turn this app around. Ted, do you use the Google Home app at all?
Not at all.
No.
The first thing I uninstall on my phone. I've got no home devices.
Oh,
I know
right.
that I previously promised to get some plugs and kind of stuff and try it all out, and so I can talk about it on the show. But I haven't done that, and I just don't. My life just does not seem to have the need to have talking to Google kind of devices around the place, or I just don't. If I was you and lived in a 3-story house and had kids all over the place, and I wanted to do stuff clever and turn lights off, in your case that's behind a sofa and you can't reach the switch, then I'm sure I would do. So I'm afraid this passes me by a bit.
I only have one kid, and I live in a bungalow.
I do remember you telling me about that light behind the sofa, though, which I said to you, well, why don't you just go and turn the switch off? Get off your arse and move across there. And, oh, no, I can't reach the switch. It's on the floor. Yeah,
because the benefits are obvious. It's an uplighter, and we have them in the corners of the room, and we can run an extension cable behind the sofa, and it reaches, and you can just say to it to turn it off and on. The only problem is that I have named it the uplighters, and then I have other things around the house. There's the landing light, and Austin's bedroom light, and then the office lights. So they all have the term light in them, which Google gets confused between. So quite frequently when you say turn on the uplighters, it'll turn on the office lights because it missed the up part and just goes, oh, you said light, so that one will do. Is that all right? And then you have to go and turn those off in order to save power and the polar bears, and then turn on your uplighters that you're looking to do.
So will this redesign help any of what you just complained about?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, I see.
But it does. It needs. There's an awful lot in the app, and I don't think it's pretty intuitive as to how to do things in the app. That you can go online and look, and people will tell you how to do it, and that's great. But you're like, why am I going in here to do that?
Right.
And it does an awful lot of stuff, but it just doesn't do things like... One of the things that really bothers me is that you can't set a pattern for a light to go on. Say, for example, you go away on holiday. You want to set up a schedule for a particular light to come on at 8 o'clock at night and then turn off at 11. And then turn on again at 2 o'clock in the morning to make it look like you're going to the toilet, and then turn off again half an hour later. And that'll help stop the sticky bandits from breaking into your house.
Right.
You can't do that. You can do that through the app that's probably attached to one of the Aukey or the I forgot the name of them. The typical plugs that you get. They can have things built into them that'll allow you to do that, but Google Home doesn't. And it's like, well, how can one thing have that and the other one not? How can you not build that sort of thing in?
I don't quite understand why I'm so uninterested in all this, you know? You look at this list of stuff: thermostats, Wi-Fi routers, speakers, displays, cameras, doorbells, smart locks, smoke alarms, or Chromecast. The only one that I'm mildly interested in that lot is the Chromecast. And I don't use the Chromecast because the Roku does it so much better anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with me, apart from the obvious. that I'm just not interested in setting up my home to be automated and talk to Google to try and get anything done. I'd rather get up and turn a switch off. I don't know.
Well, this week has been a perfect test of that. My wife doesn't like the whole idea of being technically advanced, and she likes the idea of old-fashioned times whenever animals crapped in the street and things like that, and horse-drawn carriages and stuff. She gets romanticised about that whole thing, and the diseases that you could pick up, and diphtheria and things like that was on the rampage. But she lost the ability to be able to turn off and on lights and be able to ask for news or play music or those sorts of things earlier in the week for 4.5 days.
Right, yeah.
And she's much happier now that it's all back on. So I'm actively
okay.
watching to see how long it takes for her to start complaining about about the world being all smart again.
That'll be interesting, won't it?
Yeah. So she's quite happy to turn on this light and that light whenever we're sitting down to watch a movie. She likes it that way, and she'll ask for that one to be turned on, that, and Google will do that for her. But
the grass is greener.
Yes, it's quite right. So yeah, well, and then she'll at some point in the coming months she'll start going, "Oh, I wish we could all get scurvy again like they did in old times." Instead of having to use Google to say what's wrong with me. Yeah. So yes, the app does need huge renovation. God, I went on a wild one there. Right. Okay. So. Google Stadia, it's going to launch a new party streaming thing that will allow up to 10 people to watch you, which could be quite interesting. If you have 10 friends, put your hand up in the air if you've got 10 friends.
I'll go for one.
And he's not even here. Oh. If you've got 10 friends, then you can jump onto Stadia and you could play a multiplayer game. Say, for example, something that maybe has 5 players in it. And you can have 5 people watching, 5 people playing the game, and then you can interchange and stuff like that. And you can have rounds and bouts and things like that. And I think this is just Google showing off that they've got more than 10 friends. And they're better than you. And they're like, if you're not using this streaming function, then nobody likes you. You've got no mates. Flipping heck. The point is, I think they're trying to get all of the users of Stadia to play one big game.
Yeah.
All 10.
Everyone in the whole world.
Yeah. But it's nice to see something like this because up until recently there have been quite a lot of rumours that Google might be shutting down Stadia, and this kind of feature development shows that they still have at least a little bit of desire to make something of it still, because things had gone somewhat quiet on Stadia a good bit with and new games are not really forthcoming.
They can't shut it down, can they? Because people have bought into it. People have paid money.
Yeah. I have bought games through it. I'm not actively paying the subscription, but I have bought a couple of games that I do play from time to time, and I'm wondering, if whenever these rumours came out, if they were to shut it down, what do I do with the 4 games that I have on there that I paid good money for? And they're not cheap. They're not Steam prices. They're
and for that reason, normally, as we've said before on this show, Google don't close things down where people have paid good money for content and stuff like that. But this whole party streaming thing, I mean, maybe your son is a good example of someone who might be targeted here. Is he interested in doing online gaming with his friends?
He is. He was on with 3 of them on the PlayStation Network yesterday.
Right.
But I sometimes wonder if maybe one person needs to own the game, and then you can do a party share type thing where not everyone has to own the game. Right. And I'm wondering if that's going to be the way that they are able to play a game by one person actually owning it. Which is strange. I know it doesn't work on all games, but they were searching around for games to play last night, and they were looking through Austin's catalogue and going, well, we could play this game. And he's like, I don't want to play that. I'm sick of that game. They're like, but we haven't played it.
There's also a thing here about your friends watching you play.
Yeah.
So maybe it's partly that. It's that you might not be able to take part in some of these things, but you can watch your mates playing, wherever you might want to do that.
Well, from what the way I took it is you could have a pool. You set up a game and you could have 9 people join in, and five of them would watch and 4 of them would play.
Right.
And perhaps if one of those, the 5 people who were playing were to fall off or decide, I don't want to play this anymore, then one of the other people who are spectating, the audience, can jump in and take that person's place.
Right, okay.
Or that you could take it in turns. So if you had 6 friends, you don't have to leave one person out, so that the 5 of them, so 5 people could play online.
Okay.
Again, showing off the mass volume of friends that Google employees have.
Yes. Okay, well that's interesting. Be interested to see if it happens.
Yeah.
We'll look to you and your family to test it.
No. The last thing I want to do, I don't like multiplayer games in the slightest.
Oh.
And I hate the idea of someone watching me play, because my daughter, even though I said I only have one kid, I do have a stepdaughter. She sometimes contacts me about setting up streaming. She would like to do Twitch, and she's like, "Do you have a camera and a microphone that I could take and set up Twitch? How do you do it? Can you do it, and then I'll copy what you're doing?" And I'm like, no. I like the idea of Twitch, and I've watched a few people on Twitch, but there's no way I'm going to do it, because it's like someone looking over your shoulder whilst you're playing a game. You're going to be paranoid that you're maybe doing it badly, or there's someone going to be criticizing you, saying you're crap at that game, or no, this is what you need to do, or there's secrets over there that you missed, you're useless. You don't. Gaming's for relaxing, not for getting stressed out that someone is watching you. And you know how it is whenever you're trying to type someone an email and someone's sticking their head over your shoulder. You make every typo in the block.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
Anyway, we'll come back to that kind of technology in a few stories' time. Mm-hmm. Because the first thing we're going to talk about is Twitter having their data breach, in which it affected millions of accounts. Ted, I got really bored with this after the first paragraph. Do you want
It is quite boring, because it's very similar to the previous story about Google, isn't it?
Yes.
Except that it's Twitter, and it was a 0-day exploit, which is slightly different, I suppose. And it was this company or group of companies or hackers or whatever they are nicked all the information from 5.4 million accounts. They're not very clear about what the information that was nicked is, but they're suggesting it was user's location, their URL, if they've got one, a profile picture, and other data, inverted commas, so that no one's even really saying what was nicked. And a few people have been approached in terms of blackmail to cough up some money to not be exploited and blah, blah, blah. And it looks like it's all kind of died a death. But the point was that that it happened, I suppose, a bit like the Google one, and that Twitter have kind of allowed this to happen, inverted commas. And you're kind of this story to me, actually, what it made me happy about was that Twitter know nothing about me. I've got virtually no information on Twitter about me at all. No phone number. I think they've got my email address, but that's about it. So, if everyone takes that approach, then there's nothing to hack, is there?
No, but then of the millions of accounts that were hacked, which is 5,485,636 accounts, do you reckon that there's much chance that it's lottery type odds for you to be one of the ones that they decide to target out of that?
I don't know. How many? That 5.5 million? How many users are there?
4.
What's the percentage?
I don't know.
Oh, right. But yeah, well, it could. Yeah, but it would happen to someone.
It would, but again, lottery dictates that it probably wouldn't happen to you.
That's all right then.
Really, and if it does happen to you, that's the week that you enter the lottery, because the universe is aligned to you that day.
Anyway, we're bored with hacking stories, so we'll Get rid of those, both of them. Twitter and Google can shove off.
Yes. So, moving back to Google. Google Meet Live is sharing, brings sharing of YouTube watching. This kind of goes back to what we were talking about gaming. And I can kind of understand for YouTube that sharing your YouTube viewing with someone else could be fun. So if you're watching cat videos, I can imagine a bunch of school kids having a laugh about some videos on YouTube together. And I've been at social gatherings where people are like, here, look at this YouTube video, and they're casting the YouTube video to the TV, and people are watching it and having a laugh at it. So kind of exploiting that a wee bit more and making it more of a socially easy thing to do, much like Chromecast was originally set up to do, so that you could cast to the masses and have people at the party contributing to the entertainment system. But Google Meet is also going to possibly stretch out to Spotify as well, so that you'll be able to listen to things over Google Meet through Spotify. Not through YouTube Music, but through Spotify.
I don't get this. Why would you want to listen to something with your friends together? You go to a Google Meet meeting, whatever they call it these days,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got a picture of 3 of your friends on the screen in front of you, so you can all see each other, and then you decide to play a bit of music, whether it be from Google or from Spotify, and you all sit there listening to the music. And then what? You might as well just listen to it on your own source anyway. It didn't have to go through Google Meet for you all to be able to listen to it, did it?
Okay. Working from home, you might use Google Meet to meet up with a couple of colleagues, and you all have different radio channels playing in the background. Do you turn the radios off? Do you get the other people to tune in the radio to the radio station that you're listening to? Or do you decide, let's all listen to a wee playlist on Spotify together?
Yeah, okay. Google are trying really hard to make this Meet thing work, aren't they?
Yes.
They really want this to happen, and they see other organisations doing it better, and they're just pushing out I can see it a little bit more for video, like we did with Larmageddon on Projector Room.
Yeah.
You could say, get a group of friends together and watch a video, and then you could see each other laughing about it and chipping in or whatever, but not for music. I just don't get the whole music thing. It just seems very silly.
Well, we'll come back to that and my feelings toward that in a minute. But there's one killer feature here that I am quite enthusiastic about, and that's Google Meet they're planning to allow you to play games together. And I'm not talking about Stadia here. I'm talking about Heads Up, Uno Mobile, and Kahoot. I'd like to rephrase that into Snakes and Ladders, Cluedo, and The Game of Life.
Card games.
Well, yeah, card games, board games. Being able to do that over Meet would be tremendous. You wouldn't have to go round to other people's houses and bring a bottle and then sit down and play an embarrassing game of Cluedo, which I always win, I have to add.
Yes.
I've been playing Cluedo quite a lot recently, and I am the king.
So how would that work then? That you got your 4 faces.
See, you've
on
got
the
a bunch
screen.
of weapons and a bunch of rooms and a bunch of people that call to a house. Sorry.
Yes. So you've got 4. You've got you and your 3 mates. Your 4 pictures on the screen. Where's the game? There's no room for the game, is there?
I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to have the game in front of you. Or if you have a deck of cards. But then if someone has to pick up a card from the middle, if you're playing, Go Fish or something, or Snap, which they didn't mention, then the deck has to be the same in every different home. So yes, it can be complicated, but Monopoly might work.
Do you think that they're going to give up on Meet?
Well,
They're going to suddenly wake up one day and say, we've tried yet again to do this, and we've failed.
Yeah, we're going to focus on Duo.
Yes.
Coming soon, Duo will be able to do Spotify listening, YouTube watching, and Baccarat.
We'll come to Google's graveyard a bit later again, won't we?
Yes, yeah. I do wish they would hurry up with Duo and Meet being amalgamated into one. That would be terrific, so you don't have to have 2 apps on your phone. Just make your mind up, and we'll go with that.
It is now. If you, when I opened up Duo the other day, there was a big thing that said you are now in Meet.
Oh, really?
So it is rolling out. I'll open it now and see what it does. Here we go. Duo has been upgraded to Meet. Continue to Google Meet. So you tap on that and you go to Google Meet, and it looks just the same as Duo. But then if you go back to Gmail and tap on the Meet logo down the bottom on the right hand corner, then that's where that's where they want people to do meeting, and they want people to meet inside the Gmail thingy. And that Duo app, I think eventually they'll just kill it off.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I've got it now. Duo has been upgraded to Meet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm happy now. But maybe that's something
good.
to do with Android 13. No, 12. No. What was the latest one?
I
What did
got
I upgrade
13.
to the other day?
On this phone that I'm using now, there's not 13, but there is 12, and it didn't. This change in Meet didn't rely on an OS version. It was something that Google were just rolling out anyway, and it will be back ported to everyone's Google Duo app.
And people are slowly noticing whenever they hear that this has happened, not that they actually use the service.
Yeah, exactly. As I say, they're trying hard, Google, aren't they? I think
not really. No, I don't think they are.
I think that they thought their masterstroke would be putting these tools inside Gmail, because everyone uses Gmail. But everyone just ignores it. Down the bottom of your screen, you've got all these nice icons, and whoever goes there. I mean, I use Chat. You and I use Chat, but we're one of very few people, I think. But the other two, I never touch them.
True, yes. I've never used Meet, actually. I don't think. I've used Duo a couple of times. But I don't have Chat installed on my Chromebook. I only use the one through the Gmail client, because it's a lot faster. And
that's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Old Google.
Yeah. Ooh, that's cool. Right. So next up is Google wants YouTube to be your streaming hub of choice. In an ever chaotic world where all of the streaming platforms want to be the streaming hub of choice, Google's adding YouTube to that list, because we have Plex doing that, and
but that's the very next story, isn't it?
Google TV.
Plex are doing the same thing. YouTube are doing the same thing. Google. So what they're saying is that they want you that they'll do a deal with the likes of, I don't know, BBC iPlayer and all four and whatever, and they want you to go to YouTube and select those streaming services from inside the YouTube app, in the same way as Plex are now doing on the next story in their thing called Discover Together. Yeah, do I understand it right?
I think so. Yeah, which is kind of what Google TV is supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. For goodness sake, everyone just go and get a Roku.
Yes, but for our American friends, that's not really too much of an incentive, because a lot of things aren't available through Roku. We're just fortunate that most things are. In fact, if not all of them. The one thing, if you've ever used YouTube, I suppose I'm talking about the YouTube app. We don't really have access to YouTube TV terribly easily here, so I can't comment on that. And I think that's more the option that they're looking at here. But if you go to the YouTube app and decide, I'm going to watch one of the movies that I own on Google TV, or Play Movies as it was called last week, you are going to have trouble finding it.
Right.
It's a real pain in the derriere to get that. I'm being awfully French at the moment. I just think that Google have such a huge way to go. And if this is YouTube TV that they're talking about, then they have even further to go, because we don't have it here.
And can you do that on Plex at the moment, on this Discover Together? If you own a film on Google TV, can you get it through Plex directly and stream it via them or not?
It'll give you a shortcut, as it does to most, in fact, to all other than Plex itself and Plex's on-demand service. If you put a movie in and it's available somewhere else, it'll show you where it's available, and if you click on it, it'll take you to that app. Yeah,
so you need to have that app installed on the device. Yeah,
right.
Okay. Whereas Google are trying to get YouTube to be different to that, and actually route the streaming through the YouTube app.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very complicated, isn't it?
Terribly. Ridiculously. And it's something that has borders. It doesn't work across the world. I think it's a regional thing.
Right, yeah, because of licensing and whatever.
Very true, and it'll be half-baked whenever it comes to the UK anyway. So, as hinted at, we are looking at a bit of an introduction from Plex to a social experience that allows you to discover together things in the Plex library. So, you could sit and binge watch TV shows with your friend that might not be beside you via Plex.
Okay.
It'll have a TV show tracker, and I'm hoping a movie tracker as well, although they don't mention it. No, they do, actually. I should have read on. With active discussions surrounding shows, movies, and individual episodes built right into Plex. So, Ted, if you're sitting watching Rising Damp, and I decide I'm going to watch that as well, I can have a look and see that you have been watching it and what you think of it.
Right.
And you could even join me, and the two of us could watch episodes together, which is something that's never going to happen because I can barely watch a movie, a TV show with my wife in the room, let alone having someone talking at me over headphones or something whilst I'm trying to watch a movie. I don't like being disturbed, and I've got a funny feeling you'd be the same.
They're trying to make everything social, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everything, like this Plex thing, is basically saying we're going to provide you with a front end where you can connect with your friends and talk about films and what have you.
Yes.
Yeah, which is yeah. Get everyone on their platform and get them using it. They've learned this from Google, haven't they?
They have, but in a sense, I do like the idea. You've got to have people on Plex, and that's one of the bigger problems. Is that getting your friends on the Plex is a costly experience for the friends. So they're not going to easily bite it off unless they pay for the monthly thing, which is another subscription for them to add to their ever many subscriptions.
This won't be available on the free thing that I do then?
I don't think so, no.
Right, okay.
But the Plex are in the business of selling their subscription Plex Pass to most. So you need to have that, I would say. That it would be silly for them not to have it, but they may give you a sort of limited, watered-down version of it where you can see your friends, you just maybe can't interact with them. But at least you'll be able to chalk things up to somewhere that could be somewhat centralised. Because you and I had discussed, was it Tracked for a while, and Letterboxd, and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, Letterboxd.
Yeah, tracking what you've watched.
Yeah.
And being able to score it. And there was never, an easy place to go. And currently, if I remember to, after I watch a movie, I try to go into IMDb, record my score there, and then I go, I have to do Letterboxd as well, go in there.
Yeah.
And I think there was a webhook that took IMDb across to Tracked. So I was looking to see which one had the best. And I sort of settled upon Letterboxd being the best, but it doesn't do TV shows, which is a real pain.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with you.
So this is obviously looked at that and gone, right, well, let's do individual episodes of TV shows and make it all work. And I'm quite excited to try this and to be able to, whenever you watch something, for it to hook into Plex, and with Plex being able to cover all the apps, or most of the apps. I think it does Amazon Prime. Is it Disney Plus? Doesn't do Netflix at the moment, but hopefully there'll be some way to be able to hook into that, to pull the information out whenever you've watched a TV show, and you can catalogue as you go along what episodes you've watched and whether you like them or not.
I'm just looking at the current pricing on Plex. It's $3.99 a month. $31.99 is for a year, and the lifetime one, which you've waited for patiently and got really cheap, is 95 quid. I've never seen that less than 25% off. I think. Yeah. I think I once saw it at 70 quid or something like that. But Yeah, $3.99 a month. I suppose you could say, well, it's if you're going to use it, then fair enough.
But yeah, I don't think getting for $3.99 a month, you're not really getting things other than some extended tools. It doesn't give you too much in the way of viewing that you would expect to get from Netflix.
No, unless you want to do this Discover Together. That's where I was heading.
Yeah.
If you were very interested in, joining up to do that, yeah.
But then it's something that only a select few are going to be happy to do. I will run screaming from the idea of watching a TV show with other people in the room, let alone streaming over headphones into your head.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of being able to track what I'm doing.
Yes.
Yes. So I can be spoiled about this. Okay, moving on to Gmail. It's getting, it's going to be moving forward with a new idea about the spam filter that people seem to like.
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yes, do tell us what's happening here.
Well, they're going to... Google have done the Gmail spam filter, as far as I'm concerned, really well over the last few years. They've honed it, and they've made it really good. I hardly ever see any spam that gets through their filters. Works brilliantly well, so you just come to rely on it, and it's great. It turns out now that they're doing some deal with politicians whereby they're going to be exempt from their filter. And so...
Yes.
If you work, if you're some American I think it's American-based. If you're an American politician who fancies putting out all your claptrap to all the Google accounts, Google are going to let them do it and not filter it out. So your inbox is going to be bombarded with these irritating people like Trump, who is going to bombard you with loads of rubbish. I think that's what I understand from this.
Well, I do think you're right there, but it was going through the courts, wasn't it, a while ago, that certain red and blue sides felt that Google was unfairly filtering political advertising that was going into other people's mailboxes, especially on the run-up to the elections. So maybe to avoid any form of future accusation of that, Google are going, right, well, if it's political, we're not touching it.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the net result of that is that we have to put up with it. In our inboxes, we're going to get flooded. And then we've got to go through every single initial email and set up our own filter to say, always send this to spam. It's just annoying.
Well, it depends on what country you're in. I'm in Northern Ireland. Our politicians don't know how to send an email, let alone throw things at you, canvass you too heavily digitally.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see. It looks like it's probably America only anyway.
Yeah, could well be. It may affect us in the long run, but who knows? I don't think we've complained about it too much on our side of the pond. Mm-hmm. YouTube Shorts are going to be getting a new watermark that you can put on there to avoid people ripping them and sticking them on TikTok and Instagram, where original content creators are having their original content stolen from YouTube Shorts and popping up on other social networks. Seems like a fairly simple thing to do.
I wonder what it looks like. There's no indication of what the watermark is going to be.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to choose where it gets placed? Is it going to be down in the right-hand corner by default, or are you going to be able to stick it right in the middle of the screen, across someone's face, up in the top left?
Exactly.
Are YouTube going to be... I suppose we could ask Mr. Steve Litchfield, because he's the big YouTube Shorts fella.
Yeah, indeed.
So
we're not stopping you sharing your shorts across other platforms, they say. This is just to make sure that others know where it's come from.
Yeah. But I think that's what most people do, where they have all three of the platforms. They'll have the video ready and they'll upload it themselves, whereas one person may only be using YouTube Shorts and someone else is pilfering those videos and sticking them on their own TikTok channel. So does that work the other way around? At the moment, if you go to YouTube Shorts, does it? If someone's copied something from TikTok, is it obvious? Is there a watermark on it? Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought you used YouTube Shorts. I don't.
No, I don't. Okay. I've had a look at it from time to time, but I always forget it's there.
Okay. Forget that question then.
Well, okay then.
I retract it.
Okay, the last bit in Flap Your Trap about an app is that Sega, oh yes, they've unveiled every game that's coming to the Genesis Mini 2. We attempted to cover this at length a couple of weeks ago, because there is a new Genesis 2 coming with a Mega CD add-on as well, that is in the form of the well-known, I'll start calling it properly, the Mega Drive 2, that hit UK stores back in the 90s, I suppose. It was the smaller square version of the Sega Mega Drive, not the big rectangular one, which is iconic and beautiful. It was the lesser, shorter, squatter one that wasn't quite as attractive at all. But they've got a games lineup, and there's a bunch of exciting games on there, and I'm looking for a list of them. Night Trap is going to be on there, which is one of the most controversial games ever made. It was also one of the worst games ever made, if I remember correctly, because it just wasn't good. It's a full motion video game that attracted a large amount of controversy whenever it was first released in its depiction of violence and things like that with full motion videos. It was about as violent as an episode of Scooby-Doo, but it still annoyed a lot of people whenever it first came out, because people were able to play this on the video games console, and violence is bad on video games consoles and is okay on television and film. Are there any games that popped out at you? I'm
trying to find the list. Sonic is there, and Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 2. We used to play that. Clay Fighter, Devi and Pi, and this is all gobbledygook to me. So it's down to you, really. The machine. I remember us talking about the machine before, and it looks like it's been really well priced at under £100, which is great, compared to that console we just talked about, which was 130 or something, wasn't it?
Yes.
You tell us about it. You're the gaming person.
Well, I've got a bit of a list here. In addition to those that we have mentioned before, there is Afterburner 2, Fatal Fury 2, which is a cracker, Golden Axe 2. That I think that's the home console version, not the arcade. The arcade was one of the greatest games ever made, but the home console version it wasn't a port of it. It was different, if memory serves. You can correct me on that if you like. Phantasy Star 2, Streets of Rage 3, Sonic the Hedgehog CD, and more, including the previously unreleased titles Devi and Pi and Starmobile, as well as new ports of Fantasy Zone, Space Harrier 2, plus the original Space Harrier, Splatter? Maybe they mistitled that. It could be Splatterhouse, but maybe Splatter. Super Locomotive and Versus Puyo Puyo Sun.
So these are not going to be built in. You've got to buy these separately, have you?
No, they're the ones that are built in.
Oh, they are. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But as part of the course with these, they don't actually have the ability to add more games to them out of the box.
Right. Okay.
But you can go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, the best console game I remember, apart from Super Mario World, was this snowboarding one. I spent weeks playing that. It was so good.
SSX.
Yeah, that rings a bell. It could well have been called that. And it was just, I learned all the tricks and all the how to do this and that and the other, and it was just great fun. Just amazing. It was amazing that I took the time to actually learn it. It must have been really, really attractive to me, and I did, and I got really good at it. And I've not seen that since like 1994 or something.
Yeah. Oh no, I think they made a whole series of those. They might even still be making them.
SSX. Yeah,
something like that. I can't say I've ever played them myself, but I know of them.
Yeah.
Okay, moving into Chromebook news. What's new in the world of Chromebooks?
Quick ones, as usual. Function keys on a Chromebook. You may need to use a function key on a Chromebook. If you go to a website that says, now press F10, for example, in order to do something, then you will suddenly realise that your keyboard doesn't have any F keys on them. However, in settings, if you go to device, there's a setting there that says treat top row keys as function keys, and you can do that. And if you throw the switch temporarily, in order to do that, those top row of keys turn into function keys. Then all you've got to do is label them or count them, F1, 2, 3, 4 across the top, remembering not to bother with the escape key. Anyway, that was a quick one about function keys. Chrome OS is to gain glanceable desktop widgets similar to Pixel's at a glance, and that's great because at the moment Chrome OS desktop is like a barren landscape of boring nothing except a wallpaper.
Yeah.
And this will bring at a glance, and it will bring if it works the same as on a phone, it will actually be useful in terms of popping up information and throwing stuff at you and giving you a clock and weather and blah blah blah, and that I think will help with the whole Chrome OS experience. And lastly, Google Reader, which is what I was talking about earlier, there's a possibility that Google Reader, not in the same form as it used to be, is coming back. So it's a reader tool for RSS and stuff, and that sidebar thingy that we talked about before, which I'm now opening, and on the top there you've got a reading list and a bookmarks and journeys, which we've spoken about before, but there's going to be a fourth one added down there called Feed. And it looks like, although no one's actually confirming it yet, that might act in a very similar way to the likes of any RSS feeder, but particularly Google Reader, and you'll be able to use that functionality in the sidebar of your browser, which you can pop in and out when you want to use it and when you don't. So, yeah, there was my Chrome updates.
Yes. You were telling me that through, was it the updated Chrome browser on your Pixel phone, you could add the site to Google Reader, and that would sort of function as an RSS, but that might not be available on all sites.
That was to do with collections, wasn't it? It was, yeah, but this is not the actual feed function. This feed thing is a new thingy, but yeah, on Chrome Canary and Chrome Beta at the moment, you can add stuff. In fact, it might be in the full release now. It might have been rolled out with 10. Have you got 104 or 105? One of those two. I think they rolled it out into there, and you can add to collections, and you've got those two tabs down the bottom of your browser which you can flip between and save stuff down there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just opened up to check. This is on the desktop, yeah.
No, on the phone.
Oh, on the phone, right?
I'm talking about on the phone in Chrome. Let me see if it's in.
Sit there later, listeners. We'll
discover. No, it's not. It's not in Chrome standard, but it is in Canary and it is in Beta, I think.
Yes. Okay. I'll agree with that. Fair enough. Cool. Wonderful. Hark back, because we're 10 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh dear.
That makes sense.
I should be quick, and this will be a quick one because it's overhead projectors and slide projectors, and this is a real hark back because I remember overhead projectors, boring as they might be, are a kind of box that it's got a bulb in it, and you put these acetate slides on top of the platter on the top there, and the bulb shines the thing through to a right-angled mirror, and it puts it on the wall. And whatever is on the top, you need to focus, obviously, by moving the arm up and down, and you get this kind of image of it on the wall. I used overhead projectors exhaustively back in the day when I was training staff, just all the time. And you could, with these acetates, you could write on them by hand, which is what I did most of the time. I designed all of my overhead slides by hand, but latterly you were able to get these acetates that you could put through the printer as well, so you could then start using software tools to print things out properly and make it good. You also had, I don't know if you remember this, but you also had these rollers on some of them, and you got this roll of acetate stuff, and you had to, what I used to do with the roll was to just sit by the overhead projector and write it on the screen of the thing, and do it as I went along. So that was quite interesting. And then they got all clever latterly with overhead projectors. They took away the great big lump of a box underneath. You no longer needed this this whole kind of assembly with a bulb in it. It was done by these screen projector. I don't know if it was LEDs or LCDs or something, but they threw the light up from next to no space at all. And overhead projectors suddenly became really, really small and carryable, and we were able to fold them up and put them into briefcases and stuff and take them to training events with us. So yeah, lots and lots of different models. I'll put a link in the show notes to those, which were, a big part of my old days, harking back. Nowadays, of course, people are doing things very differently with computers and projectors and HDMI, and there's no need to do any of this stuff anymore. You just prepare it on your computer and throw it out there via other means, other projection devices, and much more simple ways to get things onto walls if you need to. One of the tricks I remember of the overhead projector was to that you had to try and focus it, but also get it at the right angle, and it was always a trick to kind of make it all work. And so often the top of the slide would be in focus and the bottom wasn't, and then you had to move the thing back across the room or forward across the room to try and make that aspect of it work. So yeah, it was a right old palaver really, but it was great because it was a really, really good teaching and presentation aid.
Yeah, I'm just going through Google Images looking at overhead projectors, slide projectors and things like that. I think we've covered those a few kind of times before, because there's still a thing that is happening. But the good old fashioned Elite View Right 2 is an overhead projector that just fills me full of dread. I remember them being in school, and whenever you walked into a room and you saw one sitting in the middle of the room aimed at the board, you knew it was going to be the most boring lesson of the day. It was horrible. You're just going to spend the whole time writing stuff down, and the teacher would stand there and they would have their special pen that they could write on the acetate. You had one roguish teacher who wouldn't use acetate, and they would just write directly on the glass because they had a squirty solution that they would be able to wipe it off with.
Right.
But every now and again you'd turn it on, and perhaps the class before had left a note on it that said such and such was a wonker, signed teacher. But I hated them, and you'd adjust them as much as possible to make it as hard as possible for the teacher to get it to work.
Oh, right.
If the teacher went out of the room, it was quickly, change that, move that. There we go. Whew. And they come back in and go, who did this?
I forgot about the pens. You mentioned the pens, but you could get ones that were permanent, ones that were not.
Yeah.
And so when you use the roll acetate, you obviously had to use the permanent ones. But yeah, you could wipe, if you were careful, you could use the non-permanent ones and then reuse the slides for the next time.
Yeah. And even just you could do shadow puppets on the wall whenever it was turned on. There was nothing on it. People would walk in front of it, and you'd make fun of them and things.
Do you remember when they shrunk the bottom down into next to nothing? I can't remember what the technology was in terms of the lighting that made that happen, but the bulbs suddenly went and it was not bulky.
Yeah, but they were unnecessarily bulky. You would have lights in your house that were a lot smaller, but this big metal duck that was sitting in the middle of the classroom, and you turn it on and it would suck the amount of electricity out. The Kilroot power station was going, oh right, they're using the overhead projector again. It was unnecessarily huge, and it didn't get smaller. I suppose schools didn't change their overhead projectors terribly often because they were costly.
Yeah.
So you end up throughout the entire career in school, maybe 7 years, and the overhead projector that was there on your first day of school was probably still there whenever you were leaving and in full use. I guess they were built to last, I suppose. But
Can you still buy them? I'm going to Amazon now and put an overhead projector in. I bet you can't. No, they're all just coming up with projectors. Which is what's, in my cupboard here, I've got a projector that I can just send stuff from any device to.
Yeah.
This is definitely a hark back, because it would appear that no one has them or needs to use them anymore.
Yes. No, I think you're right. Yeah. And they were pretty much a school thing. I don't remember seeing them terribly often anywhere else, and in my working life I've never seen them. But then I suppose I was at school whenever these were.
Yeah, when we were doing our staff training. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're a bit younger than me, so yeah. When I was doing staff training, this was a real central part of my presentation stuff, and I just basically had to use it because there wasn't any other option. Well, apart from a projector slide, as you said earlier, but
yeah.
It's not quite the same because you need to take photographs then. Yeah.
I was just doing big handles on the side whenever the teacher said, "Take that down to Mrs. Whatever down the street or down the corridor." You're like, "Oh, for goodness sake."
No, yeah, I've got great memories of the overhead projector system, and not so much at school like for you, but for work. And I was really creative with it, and I used to enjoy doing staff training and making the slides my personal, and drawing little pictures and captions and trying to make it attractive to the people sat there through the boring stuff that you had to present. I really enjoyed the whole thing. It was good.
I suppose this was a more primitive version of PowerPoint, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, PowerPoint, I suppose, is the software that later on you were able to just either print your slides or project via, sending it to other devices. But yeah, you could say that it's a PowerPoint, a manual PowerPoint from back in the day, yeah.
And has the associated amount of dread with it as well, from most people who see them.
Yeah, PowerPoint, very boring.
Right, bargain basement. We've got stuff to talk about in here. We're going to start off with Ted. You've got a thing.
No, you've got a thing.
Do I? Oh, I do, yes. Yes, I thought it was made by a different person. Okay, not person, but company. This is the Samsung Evo Select, the 256GB micro SD card, XC UHS-1 U3 130 megabytes per second, full HD and 4K UHD memory card with SD adapter. Is down in price to £24.89. I tweeted this out earlier because 256 for 25 quid is great. That's a lot.
And half a terabyte for $59.99.
Yeah, as well, yeah.
And these are fast cards as well. They're no slouches.
Yeah. But I have noticed, I took I got 256 gigabyte micro SD card, and I put it into my dash cam thinking, hey, it didn't work.
No, yes, you've got to be careful of that. Mm-hmm. I had that with a Zoom recorder, and it just didn't work. Whatever you did, try and format it inside. Nope, it would only take up to 32 gigabytes, and that's it.
Yeah. So you can't just go out and buy these things and think, oh, that's going to iron out all my problems with my security camera, and we don't have to pay a subscription anymore or something like that. But it's very nice for sticking into the back of, I don't know, just something simple like a camera or your mobile phone if you happen to have the card. Obviously, if you buy a Xiaomi Pad 5, you can't put it in. But it could have expanded that storage quite a bit if they had added that little drive onto the side.
Yes, indeed, very good. And that was 25 quid and 59 quid. The one I fancy. My first one is a Crucial, which you'll probably know more about than I do, as usual. Crucial 2 terabyte portable SSD, and it's much like the SanDisk Extreme one again, but without the Extreme bit. 142 quid, 36% off, should be 222 quid. And that, to me, unless you counter my claim, looks like a bit of a bargain.
It is, absolutely. These portable drives are beautiful, and you can use them on other things as well. I have my eyes peeled for this kind of thing, and that's almost as good a deal as I think you could get to be able to plug into the back of my Android TV to just speed up the USB storage that's on there.
Right.
Because I have a thumb drive plugged into the back, and it's just not fast enough. This is a lot faster and gives you a huge amount of storage. You can also plug it into the likes of a PlayStation or an Xbox, and copy your games across to it and keep some of the lesser games on there that are taking up valuable storage that could be utilized by the newer generation of games that are coming out that make use of the newer generation of SSDs that are in those machines.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. This is one that it's a wee bit of a gamble. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing here, but I want to get it to play with it. This is the UFI, EUFY, solar panel, the UFI Cam solar panel that you can use to attach to one of the UFI solar security cameras. But they're selling the solar panel on its own. And I thought that might be quite a good way of charging something that I have in the garden that I would quite like to keep topped up, but I don't have to bring it into the house all the time.
Something that's not a UFI, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay.
Because I think it's either USB Type-C or micro SD, or micro USB. I can't quite work out from the pictures what the connection is. I haven't looked into it too closely, but I thought this was a really decent price. It's down from £50 down to £35, which is 30% off, which is kind of nice. But my idea is that I have one of those wee strip lights that's motion activated in the shed. So whenever you walk into the shed in the dark, it illuminates the shed for you. And it's a bit of a pain in the bum the derriere, to remove that from the shed and have to take it up to the house, leave it to charge for 4 to 5 hours, and then take it back down to the shed to put it in. And frequently you go down to the shed and go, oh, I forgot the light thing, and I'm stumbling around in the dark. It's in there, and I bought this, and it could be used for that. But it takes a USB charger, and it charges up quite quickly in 2 to 3 hours in the house. But I was thinking that perhaps whenever it's nearing the time to be charged, or if it completely runs out of charge, you could just hook it up to one of these solar panels if you already have the cable installed into your shed, and just stick it on charge and leave it there for pretty much the day. It might charge one of those little lights. So that means I don't need to take it down and put it into the house. So having played with that solar security camera recently, the one from Blue Rams that stopped working, I think I told that story on the show a couple of weeks back, I saw the benefit of having a small solar panel like this that just has a USB out on it. And as long as you point it, we're in the Northern Hemisphere, as you point it south, it should be able to trickle charge whatever low power device you put in there. It should work quite nicely. So I was thinking about doing this and that and seeing where I go. And £35 isn't an awful lot to have to pay out for removing the anguish of having to take that light into the house and charge it over the plug socket and forgetting to put it back out again for days on end. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks nice, doesn't it? I was just trying to find out if it came with a cable or if it's a USB-A but nothing's being given really, is it?
No.
There's no information about that, so you'll have to just try it and see.
Well, the Blue Rams one I had a micro USB, but these lights that I've bought are USB Type-C, so I want a wee small solar panel to do USB Type-C. That'd be nice.
Yeah, no, I can't find out. Someone else will have to investigate that. Or you'll just have to get it.
Yeah.
While I get a nice new pair of headphones, they look suitable for children actually, because the pair that are 25% off, reduced from £40 to 30, are a nice pink pair.
Lovely.
And they look really nice. But what drew my eye also was the 40 hours of battery life, and that's really, really good. I mean, they might sound crap, but if it's for if your kid, actually, the £29 price is also available on the blue and the white ones now, so you don't need a pink set. The other day it wasn't, and they just look really nice. In fact, the blue
ones are 99p cheaper again.
Oh yeah, that's right. They are. You're right. JBL Tune 510 BT, they're called, Bluetooth headphones, featuring Bluetooth 5. and they've also got a speed charge thing going on, which gives it 2 hours of battery with 5 minutes of power and USB-C. They look really nice, and the blue ones certainly a bit more dinky. And if you look at the size of them on someone's head, they're not just for kids. They could be adult wearable as well. I just thought it looked quite nice.
They are very nice. It's a very attractive price for a decent looking pair of headphones. They are perfect for kids.
Indeed.
I like those. Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Next up is we have talked at length about. No, hang on a second. That doesn't work. Oh my word.
Oh dear, it's the wrong link.
It is.
We've headed back to solar panels. Look.
Oh, flip, flip, flip. We'll have to get that amended and corrected. This is a 65 watt wall charger, and I think we actually might have mentioned this on the last show. It's made by Topk, Topk, all
right.
one string that be, and it has a bunch of rather attractive little USB connectors on them that are green. There's 2 USB Type A's and then 1 USB Type C. And together they should achieve 65 watts, or at least one of them should achieve it, and then divide it up into other ones, other denominations outside of that. It looks kind of nice, and I just thought this was a nice cheapish version of it because it's only $21.99.
Mm-hmm. Pretty nice indeed. I wish I could see it. We'll fix the link.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. Yes, let's have a look at it then. Oh yeah, that looks nice, doesn't it? 65 watts. Yeah, very good. Pretty nice indeed. It was worth the wait. Right, £200 off the Pixel 6 and £200 off the Pixel 6 Pro.
Wow.
Currently available from Google and from Amazon, and probably other places as well, which is a pretty good deal, I think, because they're obviously making way for the 7 series coming next month or the month after. Link in the show notes.
Okay. Well, and as an option, just because we only have the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro there, the Pixel 6a is currently on sale in Carphone Warehouse. But if you purchase it from them for $399, you also get a gift card that is worth 50 quid that you can redeem in Curry's and Carphone Warehouse, which is a bit of an incentive. So you can go and get yourself a couple of cases or something like that, or a few accessories that go along with it if they have them on the shelves.
Or a pink pair of headphones.
You could do.
Except you can't plug them in.
A pink pair. Do Curry's sell pink pairs of headphones?
Oh, no idea. But thinking about it, you'd need an adapter as well to plug them in.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just we'll not do that
idea. No.
Yeah, bit silly.
But yeah, 50 quid back is worth it if you've got something else to buy in those places. So that's good. And lastly, the Sony Xperia trio of phones is on sale at Sony UK and also at Amazon. So if you're in for a Sony Xperia, the One Mark III, which is the obviously last generation one, 350 quid off. It's now 849. I don't think I've seen it that price before. It often came down, but not by that much. The Xperia 10 Mark IV is 70 quid off instead of 429. It's 349, and the Pro I, if you're really going to push out the boat, is £300 off. It's now 1,099 quid, and that's the big boy, the big beast. So there's your Sony Xperia deals.
Terrific. 3 good phones at 3 good prices. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll rewind this up because we're running a wee bit long, but then we didn't have a show last week, so I'm sure you all are very, very happy that we've gone a wee bit longer. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can by contacting us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find our website at techaddicts.uk, which will take you to my website, which has a subdomain that is there. Never mind. You can also find us on Twitter at techaddictsuk. You can find me on Twitter as well at Gareth Miles, GarethMyles. I also have my GarethMiles.com that has a subdomain, which is techaddictsuk. Blah, blah, blah. Ted, where can they find you?
TedSalmon.com. That's where I hang out. That's where you'll find links to everything I do. Do come and have a look at that. And dip into, particularly come and join our MeWe group. We need more new members. If you want to buy me a coffee, then please do so. That's at paypal.me/Ted Salmon, and I thank you.
I thank you. Who was the comedian? I said, thank you.
And I thank you.
Yes.
Can't remember.
Begin with an A, Askin or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, take care, and we'll speak to y'all all next week. Bye.
Bye.